With 4 kiddos, let's just say it's time to declutter their clothes. So I really wanted to start off this new year with just going through every area of the house and getting rid of things. I know we have a lot of things and I know that we would use them all over time, but the truth is we don't need this many things. So I want to make sure we don't become overwhelmed with all the things that we have or become managers of thousands and thousands of things in this house. Oftentimes we tend to accumulate things that we think we might use, but the truth is it gets shoved into a corner or into a drawer and then we don't even know what's there. We just have to make sure that we keep it part of our regular routine to go through the different areas of our house and just make sure we go through things. Like you might have things in drawers that you haven't used in like a year or so. So I'm going with the idea that if I haven't used it in the past year, then we're gonna get rid of it. Now I know that's gonna be hard for me because again, I do feel like I keep things and I justify holding on to them. So that's why I actually have my husband on board to help me out for accountability. And I just really need him to help me with all the decision making. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started with my daughter's clothes. I obviously have to go through each kid's, but I think because she has so many things, we're gonna start off with her. I'll probably go to another child after that, but I wanna take you along on the process because I know how hard this process is. Currently, the 3 girls are sharing 2 dressers. So I do try to keep them in season in their drawers, and then if they're off season, they stay in their bin. It's worked well, except for ideally, I'd love to have all the clothes off season at the top drawers, in season in the bottom drawers, so that we can just rotate the drawers instead of pulling out bins every single season. Okay, so we're gonna start off with pajamas. I'm leaning towards 3 or 4 pajamas tops. I don't think they should have more than that because in reality, they can change them every other night. That still gives them a little more flexibility to get their clothes washed.
Here's the pile.
Of ones you're keeping?
Getting rid of.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have 4 pajamas that you are keeping? That's the question. So one of the things I've struggled with is I really, really like Christmas pajamas, but in reality, think about the youngest kid, they end up with like 4 or 5 pajamas from over the years from their older siblings being passed down. So I've started getting to the place where they could wear them that season, even like the next season going into it until they get their new Christmas pajamas, and then it's okay for them to just pass them along. I always look for them to be super affordable, and if they're not, then I'm just gonna skip pajamas for that Christmas.
I've gotten into the habit after having 3 girls of just accumulating clothes, not thinking, do we actually need it? I just take it as, okay, they'll use it, so therefore I'll keep it, instead of we have enough, therefore I should pass it along. So Christmas pajamas have been one of those things that have accumulated, just like many other things in the house.
This one's a new one.
Not really.
Yeah, this one was just bought this year.
It has that back thing that really gets me on.
Oh, okay, sounds good, I understand.
And unfortunately that will happen, we just have to be okay with it.
And you have 4, correct?
Yes. I also have these pants. Okay. Yeah.
Can you tell who the worrywart is when it comes to getting rid of clothes?
I have the purple dress that's super long.
Okay. You can totally get that. And you don't need any of these.
No.
So one of the biggest concerns I have when it comes to getting rid of clothes, I really, really, really dislike getting rid of clothes and then ending up having to buy them. Where we already had it, I feel like it's not a good use of our money. And I don't feel like it's frugal at all. So I do struggle with that. I know at times it's going to happen, but I just don't want that to become the norm. So that's why I over ask, are you sure you can get rid of these? And are you sure you have that many pajamas that we'd like you to have? See, this is why I think it's important to go through it with the kids. Like she just told me that this leotard has a hole in it. I obviously can sew it, but she has another leotard, and we don't do gymnastics currently, and we don't do ballet currently. So in reality, we don't really need it. If we're going to do it, she'll probably even grow out of it by then. So we honestly just don't really have use for it. I think if all the kids were part of ballet for this specific leotard, then I would sew it and keep it. But the chances that the kids will be in ballet and that one of the kids will fit in it is really, really slim. So we're just going to pass it along. How many jeans? Are you switching from leggings to jeans?
Yes. But not completely because I still need some leggings.
Okay. So typically what we do, I usually have the girls wear leggings. I usually do black leggings. Sometimes they have like colored ones, but usually when I go shopping with them, it'll be black leggings. And that's because it's easy to match a colorful shirt or a pattern shirt with black leggings. My oldest, who's 10, is going to be switching from leggings more to jeans. And I do try to make that transition somewhere between like 8 to her age. I think it's just easier to be able to throw on some jeans, not worrying about like your tushy being covered and stuff, because we always have the rule that your bottoms have to be covered if you are wearing leggings.
So as we transition to her regular clothes, we aim to have about 9 or 10 shirts and pants. I know that might be a lot for some people. For us, it works out perfect because it gives us one per day. They do their laundry once a week, and it gives them an extra 2 outfits just in case they spill or they need an extra one.
So one way to help with laundry if you are homeschooling your kids is just to have a uniform for the year. I think it really helps having like 2 or 3 shirts and then just a bottom or a dress depending on if you have a girl or a boy, but it really helps to maintain it. So this year we are doing like a few of the white polos with this little like apron dress, I think they're called. But it really helps because that way if you do have, even if you have just a few weeks that you want a little bit less laundry, your kids, let's say you guys have a lot of activities going on, you could also push for this just for a few weeks to get caught up with everything, and then you could always go back to just them wearing their regular clothes. But I love having it on hand, and they've gotten, this is the second year we've been using the exact same sizes. So it has worked out nice. I did buy them a little bit to be on the looser side, a little bit big for each child. That way they give me a whole second year with them.
Because laundry has been under control, we've been able to pause from the uniforms. If they want to wear it, they're more than welcome to, but it has been really nice to be able to transition between uniforms and no uniforms.
I thought the whole point was to get rid of, not keep the same.
Who's the problem here?
You.
I know I am. I know I am. I have a really, really hard time. Do you know why?
Why?
Because I didn't have a lot of clothes growing up. And so I was made fun of based on what I wore. And so now I feel the need to like protect you guys from that, to make sure that people don't make fun of your clothes.
So clothes is a hard one for me because I want to be frugal and not pass them along if we will need them, but I also don't want the kids to end up with barely any clothes like I did. I shared with you a lot of my thoughts, and that's because I think many can relate to it. Whatever your reason is for not wanting to part with something, I think verbalizing your thought process will help you make a better decision or even justify why you can or should part with it. So do the best that you can, even if that means holding on to a few extra things and parting with them later when you are ready. You can start off really small with just 5 minutes a day or even 1 drawer a day. And look at all the space that we have gained just from going through all 3 of the girls' clothes. And I learned that the more you declutter and minimalize, the easier it becomes, and the more you feel it throughout their house. Like, it's super simple now to maintain their drawers because all 3 girls fit between these 2 dressers, and notice there's still tons of space. My lids now finally fit on all the bins, and learned from my silly mistake by doing all their laundry before actually doing this process so that you don't have to do it again. Check out this new method. Their clothes are laid out for 3 of the 4 kids, and I've already shared with you guys how we've simplified our laundry, but this has seriously taken laundry to a whole new level of simplicity. It cannot get any easier than this. And the nice thing is that for little ones who don't know how to fold, this is the perfect solution.
Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the baby clothes.
We are so blessed to have gotten so many clothes for our little Nan. It may not look like a lot, but the truth is they barely fit in the bin, so I know it's time to part with many of them. So I split them up in groups. There's the pajamas, and the shorts, pants, short sleeve, long sleeve sweaters in a random pile, button-up shirts, another random pile, and then lastly, rompers and onesies. So when it comes to baby clothes, I feel like it's a little more difficult just because they go through more clothes. So that I could get practice, I started off with this previous bin so that I can actually know what it should look like, how many clothes he could actually get by, and then I will go to his regular size. So for each category, I counted how many items I have in that category. That way I got an idea if I had an excessive amount or not. Make sure you're realistic with what your child will actually wear. Like, I know our little one rarely wears sweaters, so I kept 1 sweater and 3 button-up shirts. So I ended up having 7 pajamas, and I decided to keep them all. Since I was aiming to have 9 or 10 pajamas, I ended up keeping the 2 footless ones also. So I went ahead and tackled 18 pairs of pants. Now nobody needs that many pairs, not even an adult. And so I just separated them into comfy ones versus jeans or regular pants. As I was going through the baby clothes, I think the most difficult part was just not being able to have somebody to talk through with. So as I went through all the clothes with the girls, they were able to tell me if something didn't fit right, versus this is just kind of me eyeing which ones might fit better than others, especially if you have like a heavier baby, then you're looking for ones that are a little wider, and if you have a thinner baby, then you're probably holding to ones that fit more snug. So I was trying to find a good balance. I was able to drop down to 6 comfy ones and 6 for going out. When it comes to shorts, I had 15 of them, and we don't even live in a warm climate, so I knew I really needed to condense because he only needs a few. But I found myself struggling to figure out which ones to get rid of because in reality, all of them were in excellent condition, so I really didn't know how to figure out which ones to keep and which ones to get rid of. So I was able to drop down to 9, which I think is perfect for when summer comes. That way a child can have just a little bit over a week, which means doing laundry once a week, which is perfect. From the random pile, I ended up keeping 2 of the thin rompers and got rid of a thick sweater, a vest, and another thick romper. So I had 13 short sleeve and sleeveless, and my goal was just to eliminate enough again to be able to fit it in the bin. I think one of the biggest concerns that I had was getting rid of too much, and then when a child ends up staining them, you end up having to rebuy clothes that you got rid of that were in good condition. So I was trying again to aim between 7 and 10 pretty much for almost everything, but sometimes I wasn't able to condense that much. From having 3 daughters, I did learn very early on not to hold on to white clothes between the children because in reality they really get yellow, and so as soon as I saw a white shirt in his pile, I knew I needed to pass it along to a family that could use it because it would not last. And I ended up keeping 7 of these shirts.
So I only have 3 sweaters, but the truth is I really use these 2 a lot, and I didn't end up using this at all, even though it's adorable. I think it's time to part with it.
So for the long sleeve, I ended up having 8 of them, and I was able to part with 3 of them and just hold on to 5.
And there you have it. Everything fits in this bin for one size, and there's still room, which I like, that it's not over cluttered and overstuffed. And then this is everything that I'll be passing on to a dear friend.
So this is his current size. I know I have way too many, and it might not look like too many, but I think I know that when I put his clothes away, I feel like I'm just stuffing them in there and they just simply don't fit well. And so I knew I wanted a simpler method.
I want to explain to you guys my pile. First one is pajamas, long pants, short pants, long sleeve onesies, short sleeve, sleeveless. Then I have woven up shirts. I know it's tons of everything, sweaters and other miscellaneous stuff in there.
So the current size took up 2 bins, and I know I needed to cut down a lot on the clothes. And so I went ahead and I did the same method as before, which is laid them out in piles. I mean, these piles are massive, and so I knew that I really needed to condense. So without even knowing, I ended up having 20 pajamas for him in this current size. And so I was able to drop down and get rid of 9 of them and kept 11. Since there were so many clothes, I didn't bother folding them. I would just end up folding them when I put them in his dresser. Since I don't like labeling the boxes with permanent marker, I use a piece of paper and I put it on the side. That way I can see them when we store them in the attic. Since the pajamas were taking such a huge portion of the bin, I decided to pass along 2 more. So I started off with 20 pairs of pants, and I was able to get rid of 8 of them. I know 12 is still a bit much, but I also took in consideration the fact that he's currently in the size. He's been in the size for many months, and I also think that there's going to be a lot that end up with holes in them. And so I wanted to keep a few extra long pants just to make sure that I don't end up having to buy more even though we had them. I couldn't help but laugh at myself when I realized that we ended up having 22 pairs of shorts. And guys, we don't even live somewhere where it's warm all year long. So I definitely am trying to cut down to 5 to 7 pairs. So I think what happened with the current size is I ended up having a bin, and I pulled out the current season that we are in, and as we got more clothes given to us from different families, I ended up just putting some in the bin that were off season and stuffing his drawers with them. So in reality, I didn't even know that I had 2 whole bins. So I was able to part with 11 pairs of shorts. We were able to part with even more clothes after I was done recording, but one thing that really helped us was to actually have a bin for donations upstairs and another one downstairs. That way, as soon as we find something that doesn't fit right or we don't need any more in the house, we're able to just put it in the right bin, and we don't actually have to take it to a different location in the house. It has made decluttering so much easier and quicker because instead of having to do one section at a time, there's times I'll open a drawer and see something that I don't need, and I'm able to put it in that donation pile immediately. But even though I'm still focused on one area of the house at a time, it just helps to continue decluttering areas that I already went through. When we started this process, I initially piled up all our donation things in our front room, but this time I have moved it to the mudroom because it's a little bit more out of sight, and I'm able to collect it without feeling overwhelmed by seeing all these piles of garbage bags with stuff in them and boxes all over. Being able to condense a lot of the baby clothes has opened up so much of the closet that he has in his room, which has helped me move things around the house to shift them in areas that they initially belonged. Like for example, we had pack and plays that were stored in our own closet, and it gave us a little bit more more space there. And there was just a lot of other things that were related to a baby or him as a toddler, and I was able to move it into his closet. I have to say, I feel like I was able to justify having tons of clothes for the kids just because if they'd have 20 shirts, they would wear 20 shirts. But I think I came to the realization that having 20 shirts doesn't actually mean that we need 20 shirts. And that's kind of what helped me get on this journey and realize that I can totally declutter, get rid of a bunch of the clothes, and we still have plenty. So this is the amount of clothes that I got rid of just from his current size, and this is all his clothes from the 2 sizes. Clothes now fit in one bin, and I'm able to pull out 7 outfits to put in his dresser and just use those. This is a total of 8 garbage bags that are going to 4 different families, and it made it so much easier knowing that they'll all go to families that will actually use them. Here's what our new method looks like in his drawers. It has been so simple to keep up with, and it's so much easier for younger ones to have their clothes laid out. I've only heard of the non-fold method that you put their clothes in different bins, but I didn't like the fact that you couldn't see them, so this non-fold method has been a life changer for me. The sideways pajama is for the nights that he will be re-wearing it. Bottom drawer is just for storage. I still have to go through it and condense some of the crib sheets. Wow guys, look at that, 537 clothes that we were able to pass along to other families. Join me next time for the kids' toys, and please hit like and subscribe because we would love your support. See you next time.